Hello and welcome to another RC Flight Reviews video. In this video I'll be doing my first review, this time of the Fatshark Predator FPV set. This is a great affordable set for people looking to get started in FPV. It costs about £160 from Hobby King and contains everything you need to get started. One good thing about the set is that there's a lot of items for the money, and many of the things that come in it can be reused later in the hobby. For example, the camera, the transmitter, or the antenna. So let's get into the review. So this is the first piece of kit that we're going to start looking at. This is the camera that comes in the set. It is a Fatshark 700 TV line CMOS camera. So what that means is that the resolution is 700 by 480, which gives a resolution of about 480p, which is the standard for FPV, well that's actually the maximum. Although I believe it can give 576p on PAL. You can change between NTSC and PAL by pulling out a little jumper on the back. It really doesn't make a huge difference, apart from the frame rates are slightly higher on NTSC, but the resolution is slightly higher on PAL. Now, this camera has a fairly narrow field of view, so you may want to upgrade it to a slightly better camera as you go on the hobby, and also a CMOS. What that means is that it's not going to give you very good performance in poor lighting conditions where it's either too bright, where it will overexpose and everything below the skyline will go black, or if it's not bright enough, like an overcast day, as it often is here in the UK, you will get everything below the skyline yet again looking very dark, so you can't actually see. However, for what this set is, this is a pretty good camera. It gives reasonably good resolution, it matches the goggles pretty well, and it's quite light. It weighs about 17 grams including the cable, which is pretty good for an FPV camera. So now onto the next piece of kit, which is the transmitter. This is the transmitter. It's a Immersion RC 5.8 GHz 25mW transmitter. This has all of the necessary connections to connect up to the camera and to a power supply, in this case a power filter that came with the set. This allows you to run it off of the balance tap of any of your LiPos, so long as they are between 2S and 4S. This will also give a nice clean power without getting interference from the cables and servos inside the aircraft. Now, this transmitter is only 25mW. That is because that is the limit here in the UK. For 5.8 you cannot go over 25mW, and for 2.4 you cannot go over 10mW. And you don't really want to use 2.4 because obviously that's the same band to that you are transmitting your control signals on, probably. Now, if you buy a different version of this set, you can get it with a 250mW transmitter if you live in other countries. However, that comes with a whip antenna, or a rubber ducky antenna as it's otherwise called, which is not circularly polarised. So it will give poor signal as if you go behind yourself or directly over the top, or if you bank the aircraft over. Now, the range that you can get from this transmitter I found was, on average, about 600 metres if you're using circularly polarised antennas in a nice wide open space. You can get up to 1 kilometre if you go nice and high up and if you're in a very open space, but on average you'll probably get between 400 and 600 metres in medium altitude, around 50 metres altitude. Now, this is the antenna the set comes with. This is a Fatshark circularly polarised antenna. This is good because it allows you to bank or go over your head or go behind yourself with you still getting equal signal in all directions. This has a SMA connection, which means that the pin to connect to the transmitter is inside the antenna. It also comes with another of these. Obviously one goes on the receiver that's built into the goggles and the other goes on the transmitter. Now what you'll find is, unlike a lot of antenna, there is no particular antenna for each part. Each one of these will work equally well on the receiver or the transmitter, so you don't need to worry about getting on the correct one. So now, onto the main part of the set, the goggles themselves. So this is obviously where most of the money for the set, which is obviously around £160, goes. These are the Predator V2 goggles. They have a 25-degree field of view and give about 480p resolution. They have a small amount of colour fringing. If you wonder what that means, it's basically where around things that aren't in the middle of the screen there's a kind of bluey yellowy band. Now, these goggles, whilst they're not perfect, they are very good for the money. They come with a built-in Immersion RC receiver, which can only receive on 7 channels, so you're not going to be able to receive things like Boss Tech Sky Zone signals, for example. They have some buttons on the top. This is to change between the 7 channels. And volume, that's for the sound. For the audio out, I believe you need a special adapter, otherwise you just get a series of beeps. It has rubber eye cups. You can see there's nice padding around here. And these work pretty well. However, on hot days, you may find that the goggles fog up. Apologies for the noise. Now, you can insert, I believe, diopter lenses into these. I may be wrong. And also, there is not an adjustable IPD, so you cannot adjust the distance between the 2 lenses. Now, this does not have a head tracker. However, you can, I believe, put an external head tracker on it. I've never tried and I've never heard of anybody doing it, but there's no reason why putting a external Trinity head tracker wouldn't work. It has AV out to go to a DVR or a external monitor or TV. And this is a switch that turns the receiver that's built in on or off. You have the power in here for the LiPo, which is included here. Now, I'll get onto this in a minute, but this just connects in like that. Now, a couple of things about these goggles. The goggles obviously come with a cleaning thing for the lenses, which I've never used because you don't tend to get them too dirty. And they come with a nice case like this. It zips up. There's only really room inside it for the goggles, and you can just about squeeze an antenna in. Another important note: you must not expose the lenses to direct sunlight. It's okay to just have them sitting like this, but on sunny days try to avoid pointing them up or into the sun, as what will happen is these lenses here will magnify the sunlight onto the LCDs and burn the LCDs, so you'll get black spots on the LCDs. And Fatshark do not cover that in the warranty, which is a bit stupid. Now onto the LiPo. As I said before, this LiPo connects in here, like so. And it is a 2-cell 1000 mAh LiPo. Now it slots here into the headband, there's a little gap here, and you just push it in there and you're ready to go. One thing which I found is that it does have a tendency of falling out, which is a bit annoying. This will give you, I think, from experience, about half an hour to 45 minutes of FPV use before it runs out. Obviously you can get more from that if you turn off the receiver and use an external receiver, which you may want to do if you're transmitting a signal from another manufacturer of transmitters. So for this part of the review, we will be quickly having a look at what the signal coming out of the camera looks like. Obviously, as there's no DVR built into these goggles, the way I'll do this is I'll use from the supplied bag of cables, I will take out this cable here. This cable just connects it up to a TV, and I will film what appears on the TV. You can see this is what it looks like if we can get it to focus on the TV. You see it's got a bit of a fisheye effect, but it's not too bad. You can see the red on the antenna is a little bit too bright, but overall, pretty good image quality. And there's my legs, and there is the transmitter and the battery that I'm using. This battery is just a 2-cell E-Flight 800 mAh LiPo. So as I said before, even though this set is far from perfection, it has lots of issues. For example, there's no DVR in the goggles, there's no head tracker. For what you pay for it, which is about £160, which I believe is somewhere in the region of $250, I'm not entirely sure, you get a very good value set which includes everything you need to get started in FPV without having to do any soldering at all. And also a lot of this stuff, in particular the antenna, the transmitter, maybe even the camera, you can use even if you get a new set of goggles or you start flying FPV on a larger scale. These goggles are reasonably good, fairly immersive, the built-in receiver is very good, and they're quite comfortable. The only real issues that I've identified that aren't just the fact that they're quite cheap are they do fog up a bit, and also when you're trying to get audio out, all you get is a series of beeps and sort of buzzing. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but I will look into that, and if I find out I may do another video on it. So thank you for watching. This has been another RC Flight Reviews video, and goodbye.